presentation on the proposed municipal facilities project. My name is Sean Horn. I'm going to try tonight to present the information that is relevant to the project, answer any questions you might have. If you've seen my face before and you've seen the presentation before, I can tell you there is not a lot of new information in this presentation. It is basically a repeat of what we went through last time. So I would ask if I can get through the presentation and then answer any questions you might have. That might be in the best interest of time. So, George, you're the slide in. So, real quick, the first screen we put up on here is just a standard disclaimer that we put. The village and Huber Brewer asked if you are going to utilize these materials that will be available on the village website. If you could please just contact the village and they can give you the permission to do that. Go ahead. The next slide here just talks about, it's a preamble for people that might be viewing this online at some point on the village website, just stating that this was a presentation that was made tonight to the community as it relates to the project. So tonight, again, we want to talk, our goal here is to clearly identify what the fire station program and site is, along with what the renovations to the existing municipal building are intended to be, the project budget, and then the critical path moving forward. So we're going to try and touch on all three of those items tonight. You're fine. How did we get here? So I think most of you are familiar with the process. A couple of years ago, there was an effort to move this project forward. COVID struck, it shut down all the public meetings, it shut down the ability to vote, so the project was put on hold. It was restarted again in, I'm going to say February, March of this year. So H2M, who is the design team for the project, for this part of the project, has developed schematic drawings, and our survey that we did in the very beginning dealt with whether or not the community wanted the project to be located adjacent to the library and the municipal lot, and you can see what the results were of that survey. So the village board elected to proceed to referendum with the municipal lot project. This is the second presentation or third presentation we've had since that decision was made, and that's how we got to where we are tonight. So right now, I think most people here are familiar with the fire department condition. If you have not had an opportunity to tour the fire department, you can certainly contact the village hall and they'll make arrangements for you to do that. The long story short, it was built for wagons and horses, not for large pieces of apparatus. They currently have 3 large vehicles and a smaller support vehicle parked in an area that was intended really for 2 large vehicles. It is not ADA compliant. It is severely structurally deficient, and it no longer serves the needs of the fire department for the village of Scotia. Some photos you'll see here, these are the current conditions that the apparatus are parked in. You cannot walk between them and the wall in several instances. You can see they just barely fit in the building. So the main concern within the fire department is the safety of the responders and their ability to safely park the vehicles. Go ahead. The picture on the left is a old social gathering area that's rarely used right now. And then on the right, you can see they have little or no room for storage of the equipment that is needed for the job they do. Again, just some examples of the current condition of the fire station. Police and municipal, it's a lot of the same issues. Old building, not designed for handicap accessibility or disability accessibility. Serious concerns regarding the officers and their safety as it relates to their ability to transport and move people who are not behaving well from the car to a secure area in the building, and having to mix people not behaving well with other people that are in the community. So several Department of Corrections deficiencies, they have no office space, they have no detention space, they have no interview space, they are severely lacking and cramped. Go ahead. You see here also the village hall support areas are undersized. They have outgrown them. This one on the left is the village clerk's main office. Top right is their bathroom, which is not quite accessible. And then you can see every nook and corner of that building. You see on the bottom right, there's utilizing for storage the best they can. The picture on the right here is the detention cell, which is not quite up to standards. And on the left is the officer's locker room right now, which used to be a closet, I think. So the proposed site plan that was prepared by Navarella Consulting is the new station project would be directly adjacent to the existing paint store in what is now a parking area off of Mohawk. Part of this development as well is there's been a land swap agreement between Stewart's and the village, so that Stewart's will be taking the current police parking that is across from Village Hall, and they are developing the space that is between John Street and James Street. The cost, that entire project to develop where it says municipal parking there, that is not part of this project. There are no costs to this project to do that. That is all on Stewart's to develop that parcel to that level as part of the arrangement for what they're getting. So just to be, I'm not sure I clarified that last time, but there are no costs in our project to develop anything, I'm going to say, stream north of John Street. And then we'll have, so we have apparatus, the front bays will come out onto Mohawk. We have municipal parking. We have a municipal entry up here on the back half of the building. So this is the proposed site that has been chosen, that we're moving forward to referendum with. So square footage requirements, 2 or 3 meetings ago, probably 2 meetings ago, we had put out an original square footage requirement of 15,887 square feet. We did go back with the design team and re-interview again, the fire department to see where we could cut square footage and where we could cut cost. And we were able to cut about 2,000 square feet out of the project. So the proposed project has a square footage of just under 14,000 square feet. The square footage requirements you can see on the first floor is basically everything fire medic, apparatus space, EMS services, water services, mechanical services that need to be in the building, the radio rooms, everything that is what we call fire medic that you need on the ground level to support the apparatus and the gear they carry. Everything on the second floor is locker space, office space, bunk room space for sleeping, conference rooms, training office, showers, housekeeping, kitchen, IT room, circulation of 2,200 square feet. So the total, project total, as I stated, was 13,971 square feet. All right. Go ahead. So when you look at this diagram, we try to demonstrate what the uses are of the spaces in simple terms. The diagram on the left, the red area is the apparatus space. The pink is what we call support spaces. That would be decon rooms, hose storage, EMS storage, tool room, things of that nature. Then the blue are call it the public spaces. It's a main vestibule entry at the top corner there. And at the bottom right-hand corner is a stair entry that is needed for code requirements. We have to have 2 means of egress and an elevator for construction. The second story, as I said, would be completely for housing, eating, showering, sleeping, and meeting. Training. Go ahead. So this is a new elevation that the architect team has devised, H2M. You can see now we do have that public entry over on the right-hand side. It is 4 bays wide. Only 3 of the bays are double deep, 1 bay is single deep. And then you would have the administrative space above. The intent, and I'm a construction manager, just for clarity. I'm not part of the design team. I did not hire the design team. The only thing my role with them is to help them develop, program the best I can, and I'm the one normally reeling the square footage back, and also to help identify what the budget for the project is. That is one of my main roles, is to determine budget. So this is the intent. If the design team was here tonight, they would tell you the intent is to try and make this building blend with the other structures on Main Street of similar purpose, of other municipal purpose. So I'm not sure if that rendering does that for you or not, but the intent is for it to blend with the Village of Scotia Main Street. So the magnitude of cost, we have design fees that we're allowing $600,000 for. Right now, the design team has not been retained for design of this project, anything past the schematics that we're sharing with you now. We are estimating a construction cost of $7 million. That is based on data that I have accumulated over the last 10 to 12 years for square foot costs for buildings of similar type. We have bond, legal, and miscellaneous costs that will approach $100,000. We have a design contingency, which will deal with things that are not known as of today, whether that is additional footer requirements or additional exterior improvements that need to be made. But we have a design contingency of $700,000. We have the construction contingency, which is meant to be utilized during the construction phase to deal with the unknown. If we were to dig something up and we find an old oil tank or we find something else that needs to be removed, or we run into just unsuitable soils that need to be removed and rebuilt up. So it is a construction industry standard that we carry a 5% of the total construction budget in a contingency phase. If that contingency money is not needed for those unknowns, that's money that would not be spent, and it would just reduce the total amount of money borrowed by the village for the project. So total for the fire station is $8.75 million. Excuse me. Give me 1 second, please. So the existing municipal building, if approved, the fire station would be built as phase 1. They would move out, and then we would start renovating the existing municipal building into spaces that would be dedicated for police, village, courts, and basically in circulation, right? So they have ancillary here, which is support spaces and circulation. The improvements to the village hall would include improved police quarters that would facilitate safe transport of guests for the night. You can see the courts would be in the blue area. We do have an elevator is planned to make the building fully accessible. The bathrooms will all be renovated to make the bathrooms fully accessible. And we believe that this square footage that is existing in the building right now is capable of properly supporting police, village, and courts for the foreseeable future with these renovations made. This is a rendering that, again, H2M has prepared, utilizing some of the look, if you will, of the existing fire station with the doors and with the second floor. But again, the brick would be very similar, if not identical, to what you have on it now, but it would be a much more defined main entry off of Mohawk. The budget for this has a design fee of $345,000. It has construction cost of, right now, a lump sum of $3.7 million. It has bond and legal at $30,000, understanding that we will have already done the heavy lift with the fire station at $100,000. but there will be some additional bond and legal and miscellaneous that would go with this. You can see the design contingency is higher. The design contingency is higher because we're dealing with an existing building, and until we do a complete forensic analysis of the structure, especially, and what type of structure we have to build into it to make it do what we want it to do, it's good practice to carry a higher design contingency at this point. So you can see we're carrying 20%, $740,000, and then we have the same construction contingency during the phase for that, so 5% at $185. So this is a lump sum right now of $5 million for the renovation and upgrades to the police and municipal building. I guess just one thing that maybe I haven't explained clearly in the past, this project, if approved by the voters, will go through a design phase, and then it will go through a bid phase where the public construction companies, plumbers, electricians, HVAC, and GCs will all bid on this project. It's New York State prevailing wage law, it's municipal work, so it will go to the low bidder who can provide the proper insurance and bonds to do the work. Huber Brewer is not building this building. We will not be bidding on this building, okay? We work in Syracuse. So this, I have no contractual relationship with the village past June 7th right now. I've been retained to help demonstrate the project to the community, and I've been retained to help H2M develop the budgets for the project, okay? But I'm not building it, I'm not designing it, I'm not hiring the design teams for it, I am not an engineer, I am a construction manager, I have a high school degree, all right? So that's the process that maybe hasn't been talked about enough or been explained enough, but if this is approved, it goes through a rigorous state mandated bidding process, and it will be awarded to the low bidder who can provide the proper insurance and the proper bonding capacity. In New York State, the village will be required to let a minimum of 4, what they call 4 prime bids. So there will literally be 4 distinct separate companies providing the scope of typically electrical, mechanical, plumbing, and general contractor. So those four entities will have individual contracts with the Village of Scotia to perform this work. So one of the things that it still needs to be fully developed is how do we package this work? Do we package it as one big project and you would keep the same 4 from one structure to the other? Do you put it out as 2 separate bids within? That still has to be worked out and see what makes sense with that. But just a little background of what our role is and how the process would move forward if it is approved by the residents. How does it affect your taxes? So right now we are carrying a total project budget of $13.8 million. The bond term is blended between 24 and 26 years. That still needs to be determined. It's blended because you can bond, and I'm not a bond attorney by any means, but the way it's been explained to me, you can bond for a new building of new construction for 30 years. You can bond for renovations for somewhere around the 20 to 25-year range, depending on the level of renovation. So the bond attorney, the bond counsel, after the project is approved, will go to the bond market and they will determine what that length of time is that you can borrow, because it is what they call a blended project. It has some renovation to it, and it has some new construction as part of it as well. Part of the calculation, I believe, has to do with the value of the new construction and how does it relate to the value of the renovation work. So here you're about 2 to 1 ballpark, new to used, okay? For a village property assessed at $100,000, the annual village tax increase will be $193. That again, that needs to be confirmed and finalized with bond counsel. A lot of that will be determined about when bond counsel goes to the market to secure the bonds. Right now, bonds are relatively low, but they are going up, just like inflation, just like everything else. So, the sooner they get to the bond market, the better the rates you're going to get for that 25-year period, thereabouts. okay? But again, I don't set the bond rates, and that's subject to the bond council, which is part of those legal services that were identified in the magnitude of cost. So we've talked about the cost, do it today, do it in a year. We all know inflation is terrible, and when's the right time to invest in the infrastructure of the village? These are estimates that I've come up with. They may be wrong. These are my best estimates with my knowledge. You have a bond increase, a labor increase, and a material increase. If you take those, and if those do occur, go ahead. This is what you're looking at for this project. You are increasing right now the cost over the 25 to 30 year period. Over that time frame, you will spend about, call it $1.5 million, mostly driven by your bond rate at the end of the day. The bond rate going up a 0.5 point every year is what's hurting you. People were buying bonds at 3.5% 2 years ago. They're down under 3% right now. If we wait and they get back up to 3.5, you will be paying at that higher rate. Anybody that's bought a car, you know the difference between interest at 6%, interest at 4%, interest at 2%, right? So, bottom line, no matter, at the end of the day, time is money as it relates to the budget, in large part due to the bonds. So, who's eligible to vote? Right now, you can vote if you're a registered voter and you own and your primary residence is in the village of Scotia. Or if you reside full-time in a rental or lease property in the village of Scotia. Unfortunately, if you are a business owner that owns a business in Scotia, but you live in Viscayuna, you're not eligible to vote for this project. If you own rental property in the area, but again, you live in Nisky or Charlton or someplace else, you're not eligible to vote. If you're a renter and you live in a rental property in the village of Scotia and you're registered, you can vote. Okay? So, any questions regarding voter eligibility? Again, I would ask you to reach out to the village clerk or go to the email that I'm going to give you at the end of this, and they will give you the correct final answer for, because I'm not at the Board of Elections, I am not New York State. So that's my understanding based on previous work that we've done. We do have an exit poll that we will hand out, that we have to. Somebody might help me with this, Chief. This is the one time I've ever told a cop to do something. So, thank you for letting me get through that. I will certainly open the floor to any questions, and I can certainly go back to any slide I need to pull up to be referenced. Yes, ma'am.
If the referendum is approved on June 7th, how much work could realistically be done before the end of 2022?
How much work in the field and work on site?
Work on the bond, all of that stuff. How much work could get done?
If the referendum is approved in June, a typical design process is about 5 months. So for the most of 2022 would be design. The goal would be to go out to bid end of the year or beginning of the new year, which would place the village well for a construction start in April, May when the weather breaks. So, but yeah, you wouldn't see anything on site. I don't think we wouldn't disturb the site before this time of next year at the earliest. Well, other questions? I'm sure there's more than one. Yes, sir.
At the previous meeting, you mentioned the possibility of grants being available.
Yes.
That will be investigated.
Yes. Approval. Yes. So he's asking, I was asked tonight to repeat the questions because sometimes people can't hear. So the question is, are there bonds available? I'm sorry, are there grants available? Thank you. Are there grants available for this project? And so I was trying to do some research on that. Give me 1 second, please. That column, my wife. So I know a company called MJ Bourbon, who I think is one of the premier grant writers in at least the East Coast. And so I was looking at the information they had online. I just want to read it to you because I'm not a grant writer either, but these people are. And they did post something recently about grants and how it relates. So I'll just read it. This is from MJ Bourbon. It says, if your division of local government is looking to build a fire station, police station, DPW garage, or any public infrastructure, federal best practices suggest that the project be an approved shovel-ready project. I make this statement because there seems to be confusion about shovel-ready. The current funding available for such projects has caused a flurry of disinformation. A shovel-ready construction project is where planning and engineering advanced enough that, with sufficient funding, construction could begin within 6 to 12 months. This includes permits, environmental, complete drawings, and signed commitment for matching funds. If you'd like to discuss a project, please contact us. The key is a signed commitment for matching funds. So in other words, they want to know the project is approved before they will consider grants. Now this is, again, this is MJ Bourbon Inc., this is not Sean Foreign Associates. They are premier grant writers for municipalities on the East Coast. So yes, we're hoping to get some, and anything we can do for a grant, we have to remember, and maybe another thing that I haven't explained well. The referendum is asking for approval to spend up to $13.8 million. If the village was successful in securing, call it $1 million grant, we could not add that $1 million to the 13.8 and make it $14.8 million. The grant money would have to go directly towards, the village only authorized to spend up to 13.8. What blend that money is, all through a bond, parts of bond, could be part bond, part donation, part grant, but it's a cap that you cannot exceed. So if they are successful with any grants, it will directly reduce the tax impact based on how much grant money they receive. And I probably didn't explain that too well last couple of times. Other questions?
Could I just make a request? I brought back that slide. If you could just say that one more time, that the referendum is going to be for this amount.
Yes.
It's not going to be any more than this.
Right. The referendum is for well, and it will say right on it in the fancy lawyer language that I don't do. It says to spend up to $13.8 million. That is what you're approving. And it caps the cost of the project at that. The tax implication assumes that you borrow all the money. We're not sitting here saying, we think we can get $2 million, and if we don't, well then your tax implication is going to be a little different. This tax implication is a worst case scenario for the project. Yes, ma'am.
And that worst case scenario includes the 4 contingencies to produce buildings, design and
Yes.
construction.
Yes.
So that allows for, like I said, if they find
The unknown.
something funky under the ground or
Mhm.
in the basement of the building or something.
We're seeing another contingency item that why projects need contingency that's a little bit unusual, but I can tell you right now at Global Foundries, which is just up the road a little bit, they have massive plumbing and HVAC projects going on, millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And it is dramatically affecting the plumbing and HVAC bids that we are seeing on municipal work. There's not enough companies to do the work, so the price is going up. It's all right, supply and demand. So that's the thing, where right now we open bids in the plumbing and HVAC came in a little bit higher percentage than what we thought. And we went to the bidders, and typically we get 6 to 8 bidders, and we only got 2 to 3 for each of those scopes. And we started calling around, like, why didn't you bid this fire station project? You bid all of them. He's like, we're at Global Foundries. And they hang up the phone. And I hate to say, Global Foundries pays better than public work. Wonder why. So that's one place where some contingencies might have to be used to make up for a budget that has a